Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a really hard look at a deeply ingrained belief that, honestly, almost every single one of us carries around. We're going to challenge the idea that exchanging your time for money is your absolutely only option for survival. I know, it's a bold claim, but stick with me. By the time we finish walking through this, you might just see your daily grind in a completely different light.
Think about it for a second. The idea that effort strictly equals income, that showing up and just giving your time is the only way you survive, it isn't just an opinion you can casually swap out like a pair of shoes. No, it was installed in us like software from a really young age. It sits so deep in the part of your mind that just assumes things to be true, and because it feels like reality, we just never question it. It keeps us locked in what's effectively wage slavery, this overriding belief that you simply have no other option.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the invisible work belief, where we look at trading time versus working for money. Let's uncover what's actually happening when you punch the clock. Picture this. You're 14 years old working at a bookstore all summer long, every single day, sometimes 6 days a week, just to buy a $300 graphics card for your computer. But when you finally get it and sit down to play, it hits you. While your friends were at the beach, actually living out their summer, you were stuck inside a bookstore. You hadn't just worked for money. You had traded a completely irreplaceable resource, your time, for cash. And time, as we all know, just doesn't come back.
Because here's the thing. A salary, it's really just one delivery mechanism for how value moves. Look at how this breaks down. An employee exchanges their time and presence, but a YouTuber, they're out there exchanging ideas and capturing attention over months or even years. An author exchanges thought and language, while an investor exchanges capital and risk. At the end of the day, money doesn't actually come from work. It comes from value reaching people. Work is literally just the method most of us were taught.
Which brings us to Section 2, the corporate avatar trap, or basically performing in the simulation. So even when alternative ways to earn are literally everywhere around us, there are these massive psychological and structural barriers keeping us stuck in the 9-to-5. If you've ever worked in a corporate office, you're going to feel this in your bones. Over time, just to survive the stale air, the endless emails, and those identical back-to-back meetings, many of us develop an avatar. It's this professional character we run on absolute autopilot. Your avatar talks a certain way and acts exactly how the company expects, while the real you? Completely unplugged from the room. Your body is sitting there, but your mind has entirely checked out. The living part of you has moved on, and the avatar is just there finishing out the contract. And the crazy part? Society actually rewards this. It's almost like orthorexia, when someone gets so obsessed with eating healthy that it actually becomes unhealthy. Well, we don't really have a word for that when it comes to work. Society heavily praises this obsessive attachment to being a responsible, productive worker. Meanwhile, the exact inverse, someone earning money outside the traditional system, is often coded as suspicious or risky or just incredibly naive. Leaving the system wouldn't just change your behavior, it would completely challenge your very identity.
Moving on to Section 3, 4 fears blocking escape. Let's talk about these emotional cages.
Look, information about passive income, assets, side hustles, it's absolutely everywhere. So it's clearly not a lack of knowledge keeping us stuck, it's internal resistance. And a huge piece of this puzzle is what we call delayed feedback intolerance. A traditional job has a very tight, highly satisfying feedback loop. You work, the month ends, boom, the money arrives. Your nervous system literally becomes dependent on that predictable rhythm. So when you try to build something new where the feedback is irregular or totally absent for months, the silence feels like complete failure. You immediately think you're doing something wrong, even though your asset is just quietly compounding in the background.
Now, breaking this down further, there are essentially 4 paralyzing fears that stop people dead in their tracks before they even start building an alternative income. First up, public failure. That awful dread that everyone is going to watch you try and fail. Then there's the fear of wasted time, spending an entire year on something that produces 0 results. Third is permanent failure, the completely irrational dread that if this one side project fails, you'll somehow lose everything. And finally, the absolute deepest one, identity loss.
That fear of losing your professional identity, it is incredibly strong. But I want you to consider a massive shift in perspective right now. Picture your own gravestone. Ask yourself, do you really want it to read, consultant who worked his entire life, or lived fully? That job is just a transaction that pays the bills. Losing that corporate identity is an incredibly small price to pay if it means actually gaining your freedom.
Now this naturally brings up a common question. If the whole goal is to stop trading time for money, why do billionaires still work? Well, if we look objectively at high-profile figures like Donald Trump or Elon Musk, there is a crucial distinction to make between necessity and identity. These individuals absolutely have the resources to stop working immediately, but they keep working for curiosity, for the love of the game, or for legacy. See, the goal isn't necessarily the absence of work, it's the presence of choice. If stopping work terrifies you because you literally won't survive, you don't have freedom, you just have dependency.
All right, let's dive into Section 4, Stop Working, Start Building. This is all about the rhetorical pivot.
So how exactly do we break this dependency? Well, it requires a massive rhetorical pivot. For generations, we've been completely conditioned to ask one single question: what job should I get? Imagine getting laid off during the 2008 financial crisis. A well-meaning father doesn't ask how you're holding up emotionally, he immediately asks, are you going to get a job? We are programmed from birth to optimize our lives within the exact same limited cage, always just looking for a slightly more comfortable corner of it.
The real escape only begins when you completely shift the question. Stop asking what job you should get, and instead start asking, what can I build? Think about it. What can you create once, or over a sustained period of time, that will literally continue to deliver value to people long after you've stopped actively working on it?
Because here is the difference. A job is linear income. Your effort is directly proportional to your pay. You don't actually own your income. You are literally renting access to it month by month in exchange for your sheer presence. The very second you stop showing up, the income stops. But building something, that creates non-linear income. Think about a stock footage business as an example. You might not upload new footage for months, yet you get paid regularly because people around the world are still finding value in your old assets. Your effort accumulates over time. You actually own the asset.
To really drive this home, consider the staggering cost of sticking strictly to linear income. One estimate calculates that a standard consulting career trades away 54,000 hours. Think about that. That's enough time to account for 6 full years of your life, just gone. And you know what the most painful part is? It's not the number itself, it's the realization that those years were traded away without a conscious choice. Just following the default path means those years accumulate and vanish entirely while you're cruising on autopilot. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the $1 challenge, where we actually prove the mechanism.
Because ultimately, the real barrier to changing your life isn't a lack of tools. The internet has made building assets cheaper and more accessible than literally ever before. No, the barrier is the belief that a different path is actually meant for you. First, you have to completely abandon the idea of waiting until you are ready. The biggest lie we tell ourselves is that confidence comes before action. It doesn't. Confidence only exists after you've actually done something. You cannot get ready and then start. You have to start in order to get ready, and you simply must learn to tolerate the uncertainty of the outcome while you take action.
So, here is a brilliant, dead simple challenge to break the illusion of the 9-to-5. Earn just one single dollar independently, completely outside of your job. Because mindset problems, they don't respond to evidence or hearing about other people's success stories. Mindset problems only respond to direct personal experience. Experiencing that mechanism working for you, even on a microscopic scale, changes your belief permanently. It physically proves to your brain that the mechanism is real.
Because logic dictates that if you can figure out how to provide enough value to earn one single dollar while you sleep, you can earn 10. And hey, if you can earn 10, you can earn 100. Taking this challenge to heart and building quietly in parallel over the years can lead to a completely surreal milestone: independent income from assets, eventually surpassing a day job salary, all while you still keep your regular job. Once that proof arrives, it completely changes how you navigate your entire life.
So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with a really provocative thought to carry with you. Every single day you spend trading your irreplaceable time for a paycheck, you gotta ask yourself, are you just getting better at being trapped, endlessly optimizing within the exact same cage? Or are you finally going to take the $1 challenge, start building an asset, and create your own door? The choice, as always, is entirely yours.